My name is Lisa Gandolfo. I'm the host of this new podcast called Chalice Paul-DISAPPEARED, the True Story. This is a story about a beautiful young woman who disappeared at the age of 33 at the height of her career as an aspiring actress, a former Delta flight attendant who had her whole life ahead of her and just disappeared off the face of the earth. And we believe in Key West, Florida, was the last place that we've been told that she was alive at. She was married to a prominent race car driver at the time in the summer of 1981. His name was John Paul Sr. He raced Formula One race cars and Porsches, and he and his son were a prominent racing team at the time. We have tried for several years to get an active investigation on her. To date, there has not been a formal investigation on the disappearance of Chalice Paul. She was born with the name Chalice Jessica Alford from Madison, Florida. It's a small town in the panhandle of Florida. She left at a very young age, moved to Jacksonville, Florida. She applied for Delta Airlines when she was living in Jacksonville. She was able to be hired without a college education. They were very impressed with her personality. She was a beautiful girl. You weren't supposed to be married then, but she was, to her first husband, Donald Barnett, who she met in Jacksonville. And they both moved to Jonesboro, Georgia, to be close to the airport. And she flew for Delta for, I would say, at least 10 years from what I understand. And unfortunately, she lost her job because of her next husband, who happened to be John Paul Sr. She met him at Road Atlanta. Her first husband brought her there, Donald Barnett, to watch, it was actually practice laps for an upcoming race. And John Paul was doing practice laps in his Porsche. And Donald Barnett was actually a fan of his. So he did the introduction. Next thing you know, he decided to take Chalice out in the race car and do a spin with her to impress her. And that's all it took. After that, he pursued the hell out of her. And next thing you know, she left her first husband for this fast lane, fast car, race car driver, John Paul Sr. The rest is history. Unfortunately, it was short-lived. It was volatile from the beginning in the relationship, from what I gather. But I met Chalice in Palm Beach in I'm guessing it's the end of 1980 or the very beginning of 1981. We both met at the Palm Beach Yacht Club, which was a prominent private club that was down on the waterfront in West Palm Beach, even though it was called Palm Beach Yacht Club. It was members only, but I happen to know the management, and I used to frequent there and go to the bar and have a drink. One night I was there, and I was actually with some members, and Chalice walked in, and she would literally turn heads when people would walk in the room. She ended up at our table, and we started talking, and she was telling me that, she was just recently arrived in Palm Beach. She heard that it was the place for the rich and famous. A girlfriend of hers from Atlanta told her that's where her last residence was with John Paul, was in a town called Roswell, Georgia, which is near Sandy Springs. They're both suburbs of Atlanta. And he had a factory where he built his own race cars. It was in Lawrenceville, Georgia. But she was estranged with him. They weren't married that long, but she decided to come to Florida and decide what she wanted to do. She wanted to continue with the marriage or call it quits. So we hit it off, and we became instant friends, almost right there. First time we ever met. I just loved her energy. She was very positive and bubbly. And then we met again, and we ended up at another place, a very well-known place called Bradley's in Palm Beach. And introduced her to a lot of my friends. She was new in town, and she could make a friend in a New York minute. She was an amazing spirit. Is the only way I could put it. But anyways, we have a whole series of people that I have lined up for this podcast who either knew Chalice during her actual Delta Airlines stewardess days, and some other interesting people that I think are going to contribute to this who actually knew John Paul, whether that was a good thing or not, but they knew him or they knew of him. And hopefully, as this unfolds, we'll have more people who are willing to come forward who might be able to contribute in circulation, and then maybe we could interview them as well. But anyways, I appreciate everybody listening, and I hope you enjoy this podcast, Chalice Paul Disappeared, The True Story. Thank you.